How do I buy and sell my home at the same time? It's a great question. And the most common concerns that we hear are, how do I go through this process and not end up homeless through it? How do I go through this process and not end up with two homes and two payments? And how do I go through this process without having to settle for my next property, especially if I'm having to take on a higher interest rate than what I currently have now? It just wouldn't make sense, right? But you still might need to downsize, you might need to upsize, you might need an extra bedroom for your children, maybe you need a single story instead of the current two-story that you have, maybe you need a larger yard for your family, right? Life goes on. So the way that we explain this to our clients is we let them know, hey, you can go through this transition risk-free by using what's called contingencies. And contingencies are just a fancy word for you're not having to move forward with that transaction unless something specific happens. And in this scenario, you don't have to actually sell your home unless you find your replacement property. And we'll do the same thing with the replacement property. We'll submit an offer on the replacement property and it'll be contingent upon you closing on your current home. So now you have two contingencies in place, which basically are just two safety nets. For example, let's just say the buyers at your current property cancel, you're not forced to then buy your replacement property and end up with two homes. The same thing with the replacement property. Let's just say you get your offer accepted and it just doesn't work out for you guys and you decide to cancel. You're not having to sell your current home and end up homeless, right? Once you get your replacement property offer accepted, we'll then negotiate on your behalf to stay at your property a few more days after closing. That way you have more than enough time to move your items over into the new home. Because typically what happens with these two properties that close is that they'll close back to back, sometimes within a few hours. And if you need to be out by the time your first property closes, it can be a little bit difficult depending where your next property is at to move all your items over within a few hours, right? So hopefully this addressed some concerns and answered some of your questions. I know it can seem pretty overwhelming buying and selling at the same time. So if you have a specific question about your scenario or your situation, or if you're just curious about the value of your property, feel free to send me a message and we can hop on a call and see how we can help you out. Talk to you soon.